The Jennifer Hudson Show buzzed with anticipation that crisp autumn afternoon in 2025. The studio lights gleamed off the polished set, a vibrant mix of deep blues and golds that screamed daytime entertainment. Laughter echoed from the warm-up comedian as the live audience settled into their seats, a diverse crowd of fans clutching signs and phones, eager for the day's star guest. Meryl Streep, the undisputed queen of Hollywood, was there to promote her latest film, a poignant drama about resilience in the face of personal loss, titled Echoes of Yesterday. At 76, Streep carried herself with the effortless grace of someone who'd won 3 Oscars and shaped generations of cinema. Her silver hair was swept back in a simple yet elegant style, her outfit a tailored pantsuit that whispered sophistication. No one in that room could have predicted the storm brewing beneath the surface pleasantries. This wasn't just another promotional stop. It was about to become television history, a clash that would ignite social media and spark debates for weeks. As the theme music swelled, Jennifer Hudson bounded onto the stage, her powerful voice booming through the speakers as she greeted the crowd. At 43, Hudson was a force, an EGOT winner, a survivor of tragedy, and now the host of her own syndicated talk show, known for its blend of heartfelt conversations, musical performances, and unfiltered real talk. Her smile was megawatt, her energy infectious, but those in the industry whispered about her edge, how she could pivot from empathy to pointed questions that cut deep, all in the name of keeping it real. For ratings. Today, she wore a flowing red dress that matched her bold personality, and as she hyped the audience, they erupted in cheers. "We've got an icon in the house today, folks! The one and only Meryl Streep!" The applause was thunderous, phones already out to capture the moment. Streep entered from stage left, waving modestly as the crowd rose to their feet. She exchanged air kisses with Hudson, the two women settling into the plush armchairs amid the set's cozy arrangement of coffee tables and potted plants. The other panelists, 2 recurring co-hosts, comedian Lisa and Walter and lifestyle expert Carla Hall, clapped enthusiastically from their spots, exchanging excited glances. The atmosphere was electric, friendly, almost familial. Hudson leaned in, her eyes sparkling. "Meryl, welcome! It's an honor to have you here. Echoes of Yesterday looks incredible. Tell us about this role. It's got everyone talking about your raw performance." Streep smiled warmly, her voice steady and measured, laced with that signature hint of humility. "Thank you, Jennifer. It's a story close to my heart. Playing a woman navigating grief after losing her family, it's about finding light in the darkness. We all have those moments, don't we?" The audience murmured in agreement, a few nods and soft amens rippling through the seats. Hudson nodded vigorously, her expression one of genuine admiration, at first. But as the conversation flowed into the film's themes of vulnerability and mental health, something shifted. Hudson's questions grew sharper, probing not just the movie, but Streep's personal life. "You know, Meryl, you've always been this pillar of strength in Hollywood. But in real life, you've been pretty quiet about your own struggles. Is that intentional? Or do you think celebrities like you have a responsibility to be more vocal activists?" The question hung in the air like a subtle challenge. Streep paused, her fingers lightly tapping the armrest, a flicker of surprise crossing her features. The audience quieted, sensing the pivot. Lisa and Walter shifted uncomfortably in her seat, chuckling nervously. "Oh, Jen, going deep already." Carla Hall added a light-hearted, "We're just getting started." But their attempts at levity felt forced. Behind the scenes, in the control room, producers exchanged glances through the glass, one whispering into a headset, "Keep rolling, this could go viral." The camera operators zoomed in subtly, capturing every nuance, the slight tilt of Streep's head, Hudson's unwavering gaze. Streep responded diplomatically, her tone even. "Well, Jennifer, I've always believed in using my platform thoughtfully. Art itself is a form of activism. Films like this spark conversations without needing to shout from rooftops. I've supported causes privately, through donations and advocacy groups, but I respect that everyone has their own way." It was a graceful deflection, but Hudson wasn't letting it slide. She leaned forward, her voice taking on a passionate edge. But come on, Meryl. In today's world, with everything going on, climate change, women's rights, inequality, silence can feel like complicity. You've got this massive influence. Why not use it more publicly? Some might say it's easy to hide behind roles instead of real action. The words landed like a jab, laced with an undercurrent of accusation. The audience gasped softly, a wave of murmurs spreading. One woman in the front row covered her mouth, while a man nearby furrowed his brow, whispering to his companion. Streep's eyes narrowed ever so slightly, her composure holding, but a tension crept into her posture, shoulders straightening, hands clasping in her lap. I wouldn't call it hiding, Jennifer. Art changes minds in profound ways. Think of the films that shifted culture, Sophie's Choice, The Devil Wears Prada. They weren't overt protests, but they influenced millions. Hudson pressed on, her smile now tinged with skepticism. Sure, but activism is about showing up, marching, speaking out. You've criticized politicians in speeches before, but lately? It feels passive. Are you worried about backlash, or is it just not your priority? The escalation was palpable now, the friendly chat morphing into something confrontational. Walter tried to interject again. Hey, let's talk about that amazing scene in the trailer. But Hudson waved it off lightly, her focus locked on Streep. The studio air thickened, the hum of the cameras suddenly louder in the growing silence. Audience members shifted in their seats, some nodding in agreement with Hudson's boldness, others shooting sympathetic looks at Streep. A young fan in the back row pulled out her phone discreetly, starting to record. In the wings, a producer paced, muttering, "This is gold, but keep security on standby." Streep took a measured breath, her voice gaining a quiet intensity. Jennifer, I admire your fire, your own story of triumph is inspiring. But equating my choices to passivity overlooks the quiet work many do. Not every battle needs a megaphone. Yet Hudson doubled down, her tone sharpening with what seemed like personal conviction. Quiet work? Or convenient avoidance? Fans look up to you, Meryl. If you're not using your voice fully, what message does that send? Nobody expected the subtle crack in Streep's facade, a brief tremble in her voice, not from weakness, but from restrained frustration. The audience held its collective breath, the energy in the room crackling like static before a storm. What happened next would shock everyone, a revelation from Streep's past that she never shared publicly, tying into the film's themes in a way that turned the tables. But as the tension built, a stagehand accidentally knocked over a water glass off camera, the shatter echoing like a punctuation mark, drawing nervous laughter from the crowd. It was a small, unexpected detail that momentarily broke the spell, Walter quipped. Even the props are dramatic today! But it only heightened the anticipation, pulling viewers deeper into the unfolding drama. As the commercial break loomed, Hudson pushed one more time, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of the chase. So, Meryl, are you saying art is enough? Or is there more you're not telling us? Streep's response was poised, but her gaze hardened. Art is my activism, Jennifer. And perhaps it's time we respect that different paths can lead to the same goal. The audience erupted in mixed applause, some cheering Streep's eloquence, others murmuring support for Hudson's candor. Little did they know, this was just the beginning. The real fireworks were yet to come, a twist involving a personal anecdote from Streep that would expose Hudson's own hypocrisies and leave the studio in stunned silence. The studio lights seemed to burn hotter as the Jennifer Hudson show returned from its commercial break. The audience, still buzzing from the tense exchange between Meryl Streep and Jennifer Hudson, leaned forward in their seats, phones poised to capture every moment. The air crackled with anticipation, the kind that precedes a storm no one sees coming. On the polished set, Meryl Streep sat with her hands folded, her calm exterior masking the storm brewing within. Her silver hair caught the light, and her eyes, though composed, held a glint of resolve. Jennifer Hudson, undeterred, adjusted her red dress and flashed a smile that teetered between charm and challenge. The co-hosts, Lisa and Walter and Carla Hall, exchanged uneasy glances, their earlier attempts to lighten the mood now buried under the weight of the confrontation. Behind the scenes, producers in the control room whispered furiously into headsets, one saying. This is trending already. Keep the cameras tight on Meryl. A stagehand mopped up the spilled water from the broken glass, the faint clink of shards adding an odd rhythm to the charged silence. Hudson leaned forward, her voice honeyed but sharp. Welcome back, everyone! We're here with the legendary Meryl Streep, talking about her new film Echoes of Yesterday and, well, a whole lot more. The audience chuckled nervously, sensing the undercurrent. Meryl, before the break, you said art is your activism. But let's be real, some folks think that's a cop-out. People want their icons to take a stand, especially now. Don't you ever feel like you're letting your fans down by staying so reserved? The question was a dagger, cloaked in sincerity but aimed at Streep's core. The crowd murmured, a mix of gasps and nods. A woman in the third row whispered to her friend. She's not letting that go, is she? Streep's lips pressed into a thin line, her fingers tightening briefly on the armrest. The cameras caught every detail, the subtle clench of her jaw, the way her shoulders squared as if bracing for battle. Jennifer, she began, her voice low but steady. I've spent decades telling stories that challenge, that provoke, that heal. When I played Sophie in Sophie's Choice, it wasn't just a role, it was a mirror to history's pain. When I took on the post, it was about truth in the face of power. Those aren't small stands. Her words carried weight, each syllable deliberate, but Hudson wasn't backing down. She tilted her head, her expression skeptical. But that's acting, Meryl. It's not marching in the streets or calling out injustice on X. Fans want you, not just your characters. Are you afraid of getting too political and losing that universal appeal? The accusation stung, and the audience felt it. A man in the back row shifted uncomfortably, while a young woman nearby typed furiously on her phone, live tweeting the exchange. Lisa and Walter tried to jump in, her voice bright but strained. Okay, Jen, let's not put Meryl on trial here. She's done more for storytelling than most. The crowd laughed, but it was a hollow sound, drowned by the tension. Carla Hall added, Yeah, let's talk about that Oscar-worthy scene in the trailer. But her words fell flat, like a lifeboat sinking in a tsunami. In the control room, a producer hissed, Don't interrupt her, she's about to crack. The cameras zoomed in closer, catching the faint tremor in Streep's hand as she reached for her water glass, only to find it empty, a small, human detail that made the moment raw. Streep took a slow breath, her eyes locking onto Hudson's. You want to know why I don't shout my politics from the rooftops? Fine, I'll tell you something I've never shared publicly. The studio fell deathly quiet, the hum of the air conditioning suddenly deafening. Even Hudson froze, her bravado faltering for a split second. Streep's voice softened, but it carried a steel edge. When I was in my 20s starting out, I lost someone very close to me, a mentor, a friend, to a mental health crisis. I watched them struggle in silence because the world wasn't ready to listen. That shaped me. It's why I choose roles that dig into the human soul, why I fund mental health programs quietly. I don't need to post it on X to make it real. The revelation landed like a thunderclap. The audience gasped, a few wiping tears. A man in the front row clutched his program, his jaw slack. Hudson's eyes widened, but she quickly recovered, leaning back with a faint smirk. That's powerful, Meryl, but why keep it quiet? Sharing that could inspire millions. The comment, meant to sound empathetic, dripped with condescension, and Streep didn't miss it. Her gaze sharpened, her voice rising just enough to command the room. Because, Jennifer, not every fight needs a spotlight. And frankly, I'm tired of this assumption that if you're not performing your pain or your principles for the world, you're not doing enough. The crowd erupted in applause, some standing, others whispering in awe. Walter clapped awkwardly, muttering, That's right, while Hall nodded vigorously, trying to signal support. But Hudson, sensing the shift in the room, doubled down, her tone now openly confrontational. So you're saying you're above the rest of us who do speak out? People like me, who've had to fight for every inch of respect, don't get to choose silence, Meryl. Maybe it's privilege to stay quiet. The word privilege hit like a grenade, and the audience's reaction split, half cheering Hudson's boldness, half booing her audacity. A security guard in the wings shifted, ready to move if things escalated further. Streep's face flushed, not with embarrassment but with controlled fury. She stood, her movements deliberate, the clack of her heels echoing in the stunned studio. "Jennifer, I respect your journey, but don't you dare reduce mine to privilege. I've fought, quietly, yes, but fiercely, for causes you'll never see on a headline. And I won't let you turn this into a competition of who's suffered more." The audience roared, a chaotic mix of cheers and gasps. A woman in the back shouted, "You tell her, Meryl!" while another recorded the moment, her hands shaking. Hudson, caught off guard, tried to interject. "I'm just saying." But Streep cut her off, her voice now ablaze. "You're saying I should perform my life to prove my worth. I won't. Art is my voice, and it's enough." With that, she turned, walking off the set, her head high, leaving a stunned Hudson in her wake. The studio descended into chaos. The audience was on its feet, some applauding Streep's exit, others murmuring in shock. Walter stammered, "Well, that's a moment," while Hall tried to pivot. "Let's talk about the film, folks." But the energy was gone. Producers scrambled in the control room, one yelling, "Follow her!" as cameras panned to Streep's retreating figure, her silhouette disappearing into the wings. Hudson sat frozen, her smile brittle, as the director signaled for an early cut to commercial. Off camera, a stagehand dropped a clipboard, the clatter punctuating the silence like a final note. Social media was already exploding, clips of Streep's speech and exit flooding X, with hashtags like #MerylWalks and #JHudson vs. Streep trending within minutes. Backstage, Streep paused, her hands trembling slightly as she took a sip of water offered by a nervous assistant, her mind racing with the weight of what she'd just done. As the show resumed, Hudson attempted to regain control, her voice overly bright. "Well, folks, that's live TV for you. Let's give it up for Meryl Streep, always keeping it real." The applause was scattered, the audience divided. In the days that followed, the moment went viral, sparking debates about activism, authenticity, and the role of art. Some praised Streep for her dignity and vulnerability, others criticized her for dodging accountability. Hudson faced backlash for pushing too hard, though her supporters argued she was holding a legend to a higher standard. The question lingered: who was right? Was Streep's quiet activism enough, or did Hudson have a point about the need for public stands? One thing was certain: this clash would be dissected for years, a testament to the power of raw, unscripted truth on live television. What do you think? Did Meryl Streep's exit show strength, or avoidance? Should Jennifer Hudson have pushed so hard? Share your thoughts in the comments, and join the conversation shaking up the internet.